might say our first story today is about the science of happiness.
Yes. I know some people think that positive mental attitude can just be a lot of new age woo-woo talk, but wait till you meet Candace Pert.
You know, people think that emotions are above the necktie. And it's really very clear that emotions, that at least the molecules of emotion, are throughout the brain and body.
Candace Pert is a trailblazing scientist whose work has centered on neuropeptides released by our brain. These biological messengers communicate constantly with every tissue, organ, and part of our body. That means our feelings are really chemicals that can either help us or hurt us.
I came up with the theory that our emotions are so critical for running every system of our body. And also that they're not just in our head, in the Western old-fashioned kind of old think paradigm. The idea of the emotions being the key. They're the key to everything. They're the key to health and the key to disease.
So these are the negative cells.
Candace believes in the deep connection between spirituality and science, and that's reflected in the title of her second book.
My work leads me to where I now have to marry the two, and I'm not ashamed to do it. And I actually have God in the title of my new book, which is called Everything You Need to Know to Feel Good, or Everything You Need to Know to Feel God. You know, we were put on this planet to, I think, to love and be loved and to feel good. And that's, you know, it's really a very spiritual sense of things. And yet I came to it as I was trying to understand what the endorphins do and why there are opiate receptors. And eventually people figured out that there were these endorphins, endogenous morphines, that we make in our own body that fit these same receptors. And they're all over the place. They don't just affect pleasure. They create bliss. They create our own bliss.
Unfortunately, we can also get in the way of those happy endorphins.
Old traumas can still be running our lives, because another aspect of emotions that scientists have learned is that they are encoded in the receptors as memory. So to the extent that you can work these memories through, access them, and rearrange them. That sounds like a lot of work, but it actually isn't.
How would you do that? What are the different modalities?
Okay, great. Well, the key is that your body wants to heal itself.
One way to help the body heal is by meditating. Candace says meditation gives the mind a quiet time to reorganize. She also says affirmations can have a powerful healing effect.
Affirmations work. They really work, and they work because of a little-known fact that's actually illustrated behind me. The brain is constantly being formed. New cells in the brain are constantly being made. We used to think that we had all the brain cells by the age of 5. Then it got shifted to 25, and we now know that since you and I started talking, we've each made millions of brain cells. So if you can be lying in a relaxed state, you can have really major shifts while you're hearing and thinking positive suggestions. As your molecules of emotion are flowing, you are literally reorganizing your memories. For example, building self-esteem can be incredibly powerful in advancing health, and there's a ton of data on this, many papers.
For many people, building self-esteem is a big challenge, but Candace says it's not as hard as it might appear.
Well, a tool that sounds really silly, and it's too simple, but it's kind of, Louise Hay wrote a great deal about it. Just saying, I love and accept myself just as I am. It's interesting, I just said that well. That shows I'm coming along. I used to not be able to remember parts of it. I love and accept myself just as I am. So yes, in fact, cells die naturally, and new ones take their place. And yes, they can go along the same route, but they can also have very sudden and dramatic transformations depending on how we intervene with our intention and our consciousness toward healing. Mind interventions, whether we're talking meditation, whether we're talking enhancement of self-esteem, very, very important. Whether we're talking affirmations, they actually change the neuroendocrinology. They change the chemistry of the body. Why do we have to follow the format of every single show where they're over the shoulder? Why can't we at the end,
breaking the
can't we be doing this and show what's really going on? See, I think that would be good to put it at the end, because we didn't talk about love. That's the
That was
important thing.
we'll talk about that in the
I was
lab.
in my left brain head in the lab.
No,
God,
no,
I'll
no,
never
no,
be able
no.
to.
Candace also told me it's very important to have lots of friends and lots of contacts, and that doesn't mean text messaging or chatting.
What does she say is the most important factor for having a long, healthy life?
Well, she says it's the number of people with whom we're connected. And in her words, being alone in a room hooked up to an iPod or a computer just ain't so good. And the other thing Candace told me was that music can be a big help in keeping our molecules of emotion healthy.
Well, I've always found that music really helped me heal myself and kept my mental state really healthy too.
Yeah.
Up next, we'll find out how to keep your head clear despite the allergies all around us.
Cineol seems to be a great option for us here in the United States.